Hello, welcome to Art Online with Chrysalis. My name is Jenny McConnell. What you will need today is your art journal, a brush, some watercolor, and coarse sea salt. I often like to find other artists' work online and print out a copy and use it as a reference for teaching myself art. I am new to watercolor myself, and so I've used this painting as a reference to help me learn some watercolor techniques. So this is quite a dark blue, so I'm mixing blue and black together to get a bluey black dark water for the horizon. So I just draw a line first for the horizon. So I'm diluting my color quite a bit, especially when I'm using black. I don't want it to be too dark. So the more water I use, the more diluted the color is. I'll use a paper towel to lift color if it's getting too watery or too dark as well. So you can use paper towels to lift color. It's always easier to add color and layers with watercolor than it is to take it away. Here I'm drawing circles for where the waves, the white parts of the little waves are lapping there. And I want to paint around that white so that I can keep that white free. There's other ways of making white happen. You can use a special masking glue. It's a special product that you can buy at the art store that peels off really easily, and you can paint on top of it and then peel it away. Or you can use masking tape as a technique as well. Here I'm pouring a lot of sea salt. It's coarse sea salt, so it's quite chunky grains. And the reason I'm doing that is that I want to make this part, keep it white as well. As you can see, where the water meets the beach, it's quite white. So I want to leave that part white, but also sea salt is a very interesting technique to use to create texture. And you'll see what that looks like a little bit later. I'm adding more color around those white circle parts, and a little bit of green added to my blue makes that turquoise color, beautiful color for the sea. Because I have all this coarse salt down, it's harder to paint, so I'm dabbing my color. I'm going backwards and forwards from the water to the pigment on my palette and adding more pigment and water, and this makes it wetter. So the more water I have, the wetter it is, but it's easier for dabbing and drizzling colored water onto my page. Now I'm adding more coarse salt where it's quite wet, and what will happen now is that salt drinks in some of the color as it dries, and later when I brush off the salt you will see a really interesting texture. And where the salt is really thick down the edge here on the right, hopefully, because I'm just practicing and experimenting a little bit here too, hopefully a lot of white will be left. I'm just putting in some yellow oxide and yellow together to create the sand and some beach area. I'm also going to flick some of that turquoise onto my page just here. I do have limited colors. I've only got 12 colors on my palette, just like a lot of people do who received an art kit. So I'm working within that. So trying to just dilute the blue to make really light blue. I'm diluting purple and blue together to make an interesting bluey purple look, which adds depth when we're using different colors together. I'm just popping in the darks right now because there's a lot of light in this page, in this painting as well. So Now I'm coming in with the yellows where it's quite light and bright. And then I'll be overlapping too with a little bit of orange and a little bit of red or pink. The way I get pink is to really dilute my red with water. Just coming back over here, making it a little bit darker, but not too dark, so I'm just lifting the colour up again. I also like the texture that is created when I use a paper towel for lifting colour. I'm trying to get this peachy look with a little bit of red, but it's kind of orangey brown. Not quite the colour I was hoping for. Yeah, using a bit of orange and lifting it, and when I lift it, it kind of gives a bit more of that peachy look. I think I probably should have used red instead to get that peachy look and diluted it. More pinks rather than oranges, but there is orange in this painting, so I'm definitely using some orange here as well. And now I'm coming in with a little bit of red too. I'm lifting it to try and get it more of a pink look rather than a really deep red look. I'm coming back over this sky with some darker blue. I probably could have left it the way it was. I didn't really need to come in and... It's hard to sometimes decide when to stop and when you feel like your painting is finished. So obviously the more work I put into the painting, the darker it's going to get, because that's what happens with watercolor. You keep adding pigment, then it's going to get darker. And make sure your painting is completely dry before you brush the salt away. I actually didn't do that here, and so I'm merging colours a little bit by taking this salt off. And here's a final look at what my painting looks like. It actually looks like I've left salt on it, but I haven't. That's just the outcome of putting the coarse salt on and then brushing it off once it's dry. As you can see, it's pulled in lots of areas and created quite interesting patterns and textures. So the things that we covered today was layering colour by adding layers at a time, lights to darks. We use techniques for texture like using the coarse salt, and we're looking at light and dark contrast by using water to dilute and then adding colour later. I hope you enjoyed this art tutorial and you'll come back and see us again soon. Bye for now.